The McDonald's snack wrap is back. You brought it back. Ranch snack wrap. Spicy snack wrap. You broke the internet for a snack. Snack wrap is back. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba.
Do you struggle with time? Not just being late, but feeling frozen before appointments, drained by small tasks, or even totally unsure where your day actually went? In this episode, I am joined by Jill Wright, who is a time coach specifically for those who have ADHD and is also the host of Grow Like a Mother podcast. Jill gets it because she's lived it and now helps others to build time systems that actually support neurodivergent brains. Whether you're a parent, a professional, a student, or someone just figuring out how to function in a world that runs on tight schedules, this conversation is packed with real strategies, lots of grace, and some practical tools that you can start using today. So why not grab your drink and let's dive into today's conversation. So Jill, your job is to help people focus on time management and kind of their energy. Why do ND brains, neurodivergent brains, struggle with time management?
Wow, we're going right into it. Okay, cool. This is such a big one because there are so many reasons. There are like as many reasons for the struggle as there are types of neurodiversities. And that's kind of like the whole point, I think, right? When we talk about this kind of work, it's like, yeah, there's a bunch of different things that are happening. To give you a few ideas, there are things like autistic burnout, where you literally just take in so much that your brain kind of shuts down a little bit. And so some of those things like how to manage time, how to manage your energy, they're like put out to the peripherals because there just isn't space for it in the brain. Some other things that are specific to like ADHD brains are that there's a sense of time blindness where you don't actually understand the passage of time the same way a neurotypical brain does. And so you struggle with how long things take. And there's also a misunderstanding of how to allocate the time within the day. You can see a lot of things like if there's an afternoon appointment that somebody has, they're sort of paralyzed throughout the day until that appointment comes, right? They can only focus on that one thing, or their whole energy is going towards that one thing. And so we see this struggle in lots of different areas.
And with that, like you mentioned, kind of that paralyzing, they focus on that appointment. Can someone help their brain to kind of, I don't know if reprogram is the right word, but, help them to rethink, actually, that appointment is this afternoon, so I can do something now? Or is that just how the brain works?
Yeah, there's lots of strategies that we can use. I mean, depending on the problem that someone's having, but sticking with this example of I'm paralyzed, I've got this thing at the end of the day. The first thing that I always will tell people is being proactive and trying in the future to make sure that you're aware of this and you can start to schedule things in the beginning of the day. Obviously, that only works into the future. So if you are stuck in this situation where you're like, oh crap, well, I have this appointment, I know it's coming up, you can do a couple things. You can work with things like reminders and timers, countdowns, things like that are really visual. It's also a great idea to have an analog one that you can see sort of ticking. If you can imagine the clock, right? Like the hand moves rather than a digital version can be helpful. You can also do different things like, let's see, trying to get through the day to make sure you're still getting a few tasks done as you're building up to this meeting. Working in chunks, like the Pomodoro method of time, can be really helpful because in this practice, we work for 25 minutes and we take a 5-minute break. So as you can imagine, this is a really valuable tool for brains that get distracted often and need change often, just in general. But if you stick to this 25-minute, 5-minute, then you can sort of check in with yourself throughout the day as you're waiting for an appointment to come up. Like, okay, I can still get this done. I have some framework to get something accomplished while I'm waiting, but I know it's only 25 minutes. Then I get my break. I can check in, see where I'm at on the clock. It shouldn't be any different than you think it's going to be because you've set a timer, and you can sort of start to trust yourself when you put these different tools into place to support you.
Yeah, being able to see it. That's something that in our house we have, besides our phones, we have no digital clocks. They're all, I call them countdown clocks. But, and it's, being able to see the hands moving and just to see, for our son specifically, we have one that's very time, helps tell time, so it says minute, hour, second, and then all the different things. And I find that, and it's really colorful. And so it's like different 15-minute sections are different colors. And so we find that really helpful as well of like, okay, when it hits the orange color, that's when we're done. And I use it even for myself of like, I'm going to clean until it hits the green color. And then, yeah, it's like my own timer, basically. I've set my own timer by colors. But yeah, that's a really good point of using visual clocks and not just digital clocks.
Totally.
What about like thinking through kind of this idea of a system? Are there other, I don't know if there's an app or kind of other things that can help you? I know the timer is a big thing. Obviously there's like timer apps, but have you found any other apps to kind of help think through time warp, I think is what I call it?
Yeah, time warp. That's a good one. There are, I wanted to say dozens. There are hundreds of apps that are available to help with time. At the end of the day, it's about trying. You could try different ones, see what works, see what doesn't. It can be a bit of a crapshoot because none of them are exactly, they're not going to tackle all of the things that are going on. They'll have one or two. There's lots of things like, especially if you're working on a computer, lots of apps that will help sort of narrow down your focus by blocking out distractions, notifications, putting limits on different screen time things. We hear of that very often. But honestly, I think the idea, at least the way I like to teach it, is to start to rely on ourselves and put that trust and sort of confidence in yourself. Like, yes, you have a neurodivergent brain and time is harder and you can still do it. There are still ways that you can handle this, that you can get through the day feeling confident in your time management skills. So the apps are there, I would say, more as a supportive tool, but not to necessarily be leaned on in a way that we would defer our autonomy over to an app, if that makes sense. The best thing that I find is honestly like an old-fashioned calendar, like a planner or an agenda, a diary, whatever you would call it, where you're able to sit down. And for ADHD brain specifically, a 3-week cycle is a really good period of time. A month is almost just too long to look ahead. So if you can look at 3 weeks ahead at any given time, but sitting down and thinking, okay, what does next week actually look like? Seeing it in black and white and putting all of your appointments down on paper, you're really able to see when it gets too busy. And you can identify early on where some problem areas might be, like if there's been an overlap, or if you think that there's perhaps not enough time between one thing or another. So being able to go through a process of, and it is a process, like there's several pieces you have to put into play to make this really work for you to feel super supported in a time management, like weekly planning framework. But getting into the practice of that helps you stay focused, knowing like, okay, I know what's coming. A lot of it is understanding what to expect, because time and feeling a lack of control over your time can be really anxiety producing, right? Like it can be super stressful. And the idea is instead to find ways to create some calm and some space around not only your schedule, but how it makes you feel. And find a couple of tools that you can use that are going to work for you, because everybody's different. Even when I teach on time management with a neurotypical person, we're looking at all of the tools in a unique light as well, because not every tool is going to work for every person. And this makes it even more fun, makes it harder, is that in each season of our life, in each different phase, some tools that worked for us previously aren't necessarily going to work anymore. And I mean, you've got little kids, you know this, when they reach a new milestone and you think you've nailed it at parenting, you're like, whoop, out the window. Now they're into some new thing and they've switched it all. Time can be like that too. And so it's important to sort of practice that muscle flexibility and have a few tools in your toolbox to say like, okay, this isn't working for me anymore. Let's try the next thing, right? Like maybe it's the Pomodoro method and some timers one time, and then maybe it's, using a playlist to time how long you're having the shower for. Or maybe it's like 4 songs and then your shower's done. Or you could use that for cleaning as well, right? Using bright colors in your planner when you're doing your time blocking, or doing prioritizing type of methods to figure out, what do I do first? Because that's where we can get stuck. Everything is important. Where do I even begin, right? And so there are different tools we can use to prioritize things. That's one of the biggest things that is difficult for people is figuring out where to start. Because if you don't have a clear path on where to start, nothing actually gets done. You're just sitting there in the overwhelm.
Yeah, that's very true. Taking that first step can be the hardest in that. You talked about, kind of routines and having that toolbox of things that can help. What about as a parent, kind of helping my child? How can I help build his toolbox? I assume it's slightly different than an adult building their toolbox, but maybe I'm wrong.
It's interesting because I think that the best way to help our kids manage our time is to get a handle on our own time first. Because as we know, kids are sponges and they see by example. So they're going to pick up a lot more from experiencing how you experience time. Because if you're frazzled and hurried and all of that, they pick up on that. And that's how they move through the world, right? With that rushed, anxious kind of sense. Whereas if you feel in control of your calendar and you know what's happening when, you're prepared and all that, then your child sort of has that framework as well. So the first step is always like, figure it out for you in a way that works. And with a caveat that if you have a child who's neurodivergent, you really need to get a handle on your time, because as we know, like things go sideways. There are a lot of extra commitments. There's a lot of things that are either unplanned or extra that take up time in our calendar, whether it be like therapy appointments or whatever. We know. If you know, you know, right? I know your audience knows. So getting a handle on your own time, but then there are different ways that we can help our kids, get them introduced to this concept, but in an age-appropriate way. And it's tricky because kids don't have the same linear understanding of time that we do as adults. They sort of live in this like, is it today? Is it tomorrow? Like when I wake up from my nap, is it tomorrow or is it still today? Like there's a lot of learning still to be done, and especially in some of the smaller kiddos. But giving them tools and prompts is sort of the best way. Giving them examples and routines can be helpful. And of course, we all know that in terms of routines, that's helpful. But I like to offer for young ones like rhythms. So it can be, first we do this, then we do this, right? Here is the flow of the day. Rather than at 7 o'clock, we do this. At 7:30, it's this. At 8 o'clock, it's this. Gives a little bit more breathing room because not everything is going to take the same amount of time each time. And I learned this the hard way with my son. He's autistic, and we created a morning routine for him. And it says, wake up at 6, breakfast at 6:30, getting dressed at 7, out the door at 7:30, right? To me, that seems simple enough. Like, here is the flow. But what happens when he wakes up at 6:15? What happens if, he's not hungry at 6:30? What happens if there's a snow day like we had here in Canada last week and it's like we can't leave the house right at 7:30? There can be a lot of stress that comes up and some uncertainty, which can create then tantrums or slowdowns, questions, things that then extend the time it takes to get out the door or whatever it is we're trying to do. And so if you've got a kiddo who is very specific about this happens at this time, if you tell them once it always must be that time, having a flow can be a little bit easier for them to understand.
Hey, it's Paris. I love sparkly things, right? Like stars. Duh. And thanks to Hilton and AutoCamp, I just slept under them. Picture me serving looks by the fire outside my luxurious Airstream, making s'mores with the kids, while a national park is our backdrop. The great outdoors meets Hilton hospitality. That's hot. Explore all the new ways to stay at Hilton.com. Hilton for the stay.
With a major selection of the looks your kiddos love starting at just $4 in the Walmart app, a new school year means a stylish new them. Who knew? Find skater skirts and Crocs that say, I'm casual but cool. Sparkly sneakers that say, it's my classroom, you're just learning in it. And preppy polos that say, I'm the teacher's pet, even if they're mommy's menace at home. Find their favorite styles starting at just $4 in the app. The Walmart you thought you knew is now new.
Yeah, that's a really good point of not being so specific, like you say, with time. So, 6 o'clock, 6:30, but like it being, we get up, we have breakfast, we get dressed, that kind of, like you say, a flow, because brains, children or adults can get really fixated on the time, and it's not that time. And, for whatever reason,
Because
not
life
work.
goes sideways. We need to have those resiliency muscles built into the whole process.
Yeah. That's it. Yeah. A really good point. And just, thinking through, I'm even thinking for myself, like how to help that be better. So we do a lot of rhythm and flow and just thinking through. Yeah. Sorry. Now you have my brain thinking of all the things I could do. But as, kind of, like I mentioned, kind of a parent aspect, but what about, maybe someone who's like a grandparent or a friend who's supporting this family person? What could they do in their kind of care of that child or adult, their friend, to support them with, I get not just time management, like you've kind of mentioned as well, like the energy side of, not what am I trying to say, like not exerting all their energy to then end up in burnout. How could a friend or family member support them?
Yeah. Two things that come to mind. The first one is if you are thinking about like a friend or a coworker, colleague, boss, employee, someone where you're working with or like in contact with often in a peer type of sense, adult to adult, being an accountability partner can be really helpful because oftentimes neurodiverse brains need someone to sort of put up the banks of the river, if you will. So someone to make sure that they're checking in. Hey, here's a quick text. You said you were going to do this thing. How's it going? Right? Or taking time to do a co-working session together where you can body double for the person and just sort of act as that anchor for them. Those types of things, just lending your time and attention can be most helpful. But always double check, like they might not know the ways that you can be supportive, but asking, do you know the ways that I can be supportive? And if they're like, I really don't know, having a couple of these examples where you can say like, hey, like when I shut my computer down for the day, would it be helpful if I send you a text to be like, hey, I'm shutting my computer down. Is it time for you to go to get your kids? Or whatever the case is. So getting creative on things, sort of extending your practices to help somebody else. If you are a caregiver of a child or a grandparent, something like that, even if you're the parent, but this is a good one to help those who aren't always in it kind of understand a little bit better, is the idea of the spoon theory. Are you familiar with that one?
Yeah.
Yeah. I like to be able to offer that as a framework for people because it's visual, right? You can think of, okay, I've got 12 spoons. For anyone maybe who isn't familiar with the spoon theory framework, I'm not an expert by any means, but my understanding is viewing our level of energy for the day as a set number of spoons. So if you've got 12 spoons for the day, how are you going to allocate all of that energy? So how are you going to spend your energy and your time throughout the day? Understanding that, if it was a hard night, the morning routine might take 3 spoons today when other days it only takes 1. You have to take that into account for the rest of your day. You're 2 less than normal. You have to adjust as you go. And so for caregivers to have this understanding of flow and flexibility and sort of understanding, okay, we got through that one a little bit quicker. So we might have capacity to add in this thing that I was thinking about doing with them, or like reading a book, perhaps, as an example, right? My son's learning to read right now, so that's top of mind for me. But other days, I look at how his day went and I just think, bud, you are completely out of spoons right now. We are not going to read. And that is okay, right? Because knowing that he just doesn't have the capacity to do that task today can help us, avoid a meltdown, avoid crying and upset and confusion, and right. So for caregivers to really pay attention to like, where's the child at in terms of what their day's been like. If you can, if you're getting them midday, ask the parent or the teacher who's been with them, like, what's the day been like? Get a sense of it. And also keep a few tools in your pocket that that are good for the child that you are minding, that will help them get some spoons back. Like, what are energy inducing things for them? Some of the kids that I know are really re-energized by activity, right? Do they need to move their bodies? Like, that can bring back some focus, right? Do they need to use their voice, right? Can we bring in some singing or yelling or something like that? Maybe they really just need to recharge quietly by themselves, and they need a tablet and they need to just be zoned out for a little bit. We all have different things, so do our kids. And so understanding what can help give them some spoons back can be a good tool as well.
Yeah, when I thought about the spoon theory, I haven't thought about adding in spoon or getting them back. Like it's always, I don't know, not spend loads of time thinking about it, to be honest. But like when I've thought about it, it's, like you say, it's that, that took 3 spoons, normally it takes 1 or whatever, that kind of, but the idea that, adding them back, getting them back and thinking through how to do that, not just for my child, but then also for myself. That's a really good idea. And I only laugh because my son does a lot of vocal stemming. Mm-hmm. And so he is constantly singing or making noise of some sort. And we've had my parents visiting for the last few weeks, which they normally live in the US. So it's been fun to have them. But my dad was like, does he always make this much noise? And I said, yes, this is our life. Like, and when he's not, it's like when he's not making, I'm like, something's wrong, like, why have you gone quiet? Also think, why are you hiding when he's not making noise? But just the idea that like for him, that is such a recharging thing. And he is getting energy from that, which is draining for me. But it's, like, I also know his bedtime is a lot sooner than mine. So it's kind of nice. But that's a good point about it being, the spoon theory isn't just all about taking away, but it's also adding in and thinking through how to do that. And like you said, asking the school or asking whoever they were with is a great way to kind of judge how many spoons they have left, so you know what you need to do. That's a really good thing. I also like the idea of texting a friend when they're closing their computer down. That's like, I might need to ask a friend to do that.
I know. I need that too. I'm a workaholic. So I'm like, okay, I will literally work all night long unless someone tells me like it is time. I have been late to pick up the kids so many times. And it's embarrassing because I'm a time management expert. It's literally how I make my living. But that doesn't mean I'm not late. That just means I have the tools, but we have to use them. It's one thing to know the tools. It's another thing to put them into practice, right? And no one's perfect with it. So we all need support. We all need reminders. We all need to find the way that's going to work for us and tweak it when we need to.
Yeah. And it's a good reminder of what works for you, because I set constant reminders. I mean, like in this conversation, I've had 6 go off, like just constantly. But that drives my husband insane. Like he is like, make it stop. Like, and so the idea that, making sure to find something that works for you as an individual, as a family, as a couple, like to just kind of find those things. And so, I have my reminders on my phone, and then we have a joint family calendar, which is like plastered on the wall where everyone will see it. So people can see that as like, just finding all the right things. And like you said, it's just always evolving as well. So what currently is working may not work in a few months. So having grace, I think, is important as well.
Always. And I think that just being a parent of a kid who has some extra needs, you just need to find the grace in all of it. Because like you said, what calms them can be super triggering for us. I'm in the same boat as you. I really covet quiet, and my son is always making noise. And so like, this is where we need to figure out, like, this is why I said in the beginning too, like our time management and our energy management is key to how we show up then for our kids. So we need to make sure. So for me, I know I need to work into my schedule somehow an hour a day of like just quiet time where I'm not working and I'm not parenting. Like it's just me. And I don't always get it, but knowing that about myself and knowing what my reality is, then I use the tool of time management to be able to get that thing that I need to show up in the way that I want for my family to be supportive. So it's really just understanding what are the external circumstances you can't control and what do you need to do to be the best version of you, and finding. Some people say, you don't find time, you make time. It doesn't really matter. It's all just words, right? I'm not fussy about the words, but creating the time in your schedule to make that a reality for you. And one other thing that just feels important to share right now too, kind of off topic, but a good tip, is looking at time, not day to day, but looking at a week's time. A month is too big, but a day doesn't give you the whole picture. You need to look at the whole week, right? And especially if it's something where if you're like me and you lose a lot of sleep one night because kids are up often and you're like, crap, I only got 5 hours of sleep. It's the end of the world. Now I'm tired. Nothing's going to work. Like everything, blah, blah. But maybe the next night you actually got 9. right? And then the other couple nights you get 7. And so looking at the average over the week paints a completely different picture than you waking up tired on that day after the kid was sick all night long or whatever, right? So being able to look at a little bit of a longer space of time when you're considering how things are going and when you're looking at trends and things like that. Don't just look at day by day. That doesn't always tell the full picture.
Yeah, that's a really good point as well. It's like, taking in a bit bigger of the picture. Maybe again, like you say, a month is too long, but a week is a good amount. That's a good point.
Yeah.
Well, I like to end every episode with this question. What is one thing that you want the world to know about neurodiverse people?
Oh, that they are the best, the literal best. Yeah, I think that is it. Just that every single person I know who has a different brain than I do is way more interesting, is way more fun, has a completely different perspective that always makes me think and teaches me something. And I think that is the true joy that I find in interacting with people who are neurodiverse or have a different brain than me in some way.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, I like that. Well, Jill, you also, before we end, have a podcast called Grow Like a Mother, which I've been on. At the time of recording, I haven't been on. It hasn't published yet, but yeah. So please go check out Jill's podcast. I will make sure to put all the links in the show notes and tag you and all the things. But yeah, do you just quickly want to talk about your podcast? Just give a kind of synopsis of what you talk about over there.
Yeah, thanks. And I'm so glad that you were a guest. I can't wait for the episode to come out. It was really great. Thank you for sharing your story. The podcast is called Grow Like a Mother, and it is sort of a collection of different teachings. 1 or 2 every week we release an episode where I bring a guest on and we cover a topic in either personal development, growth, spirituality, neurodiversity, time management, boundaries, self-care, like all of these things kind of that I personally am interested in as I go through my motherhood journey. So yeah, the podcast just kind of covers a gamut of how we can be working on ourselves as we're going through the motherhood journey.
That's cool. That's really cool. Yeah, I like it. Well, thank you so much, Jill, for joining us and for sharing just how any of us can do time management better, but also helping to support those who might need a little more help. So thank you very much.
It's my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
I love that chat with Jill because it was a reminder that time management isn't about perfection. It's about permission. Permission to do it differently, to find what works for your brain, and to make adjustments as life changes. If this episode resonated with you, go follow Jill at Grow Like a Mother and check out her podcast too. It is full of gold. And if you rewind a few episodes back, you might hear a familiar voice. If you are walking this ADHD or neurodivergent journey, just know it's okay to need extra tools. It's okay to reset, and you are never alone. While you're looking at Jill and all her socials, why not check out the Unfinished Ideas socials? We have lots of fun on all the platforms, so go check us out and follow the iconic brain. Until next time, friends, go and have a great week.